It's Tuesday. As I mentioned in my last video, we weren't going to go down to the shed on Monday and work. We've decided to go down tomorrow, Wednesday, and work a little bit. So we'll be filming some tomorrow. But I've been spending most of the week working on the software that's going to run the game, and I thought I'd go over a little bit of that to show you guys where we're at in that. So let me flip the camera around and show you my setup, and then I'll explain kind of what I'm going to do today. Well, you'll have to excuse my desk. It always looks a lot like this. So here is the control board, and I have added some jumper wires onto here that during my testing I've been playing around with, and I'll just show you those real quickly here. So these side two wires are the flippers. That next gray wire there is the add coin switch. This brown wire is the credit button, so taking credits away and adding players. These black and white wires, the black wire is the top left rollover. The white wire is the coin and drain. This wire over here is, I forget. Anyway, I don't really use that. And then this wire right here is the ground wire that I touch onto these to simulate a ball closing a switch. So while I'm doing my testing, that's what I'm going to be doing. But up on my screen, I've got my software. I will cut to a screen capture here shortly and show you the code I've been working on. And then I will take you through some testing and show you how that looks in my debug software. And when I'm done with that, then I'll bring you back and I'll use my Canon over here up on the tripod. Yes, I own a tripod. I just don't use it much, Andy. But once I get this set up, I will go ahead and repeat some of the testing to show you what it looks like when I'm doing testing. And show you how the relays flash, showing me what's going on. So with that, let me cut to the screenshot and I will take you through some of the code. You're looking at my current code for the game that I've been testing, and we're in the loop of the routine. So this is the void loop that repeats over and over again, just like in any other Arduino thing. And what I wanted to do as I ran through this loop is I wanted to print out a whole bunch of variables that the code could set or clear to see how the game was playing, like how many balls in play, how many balls are in the game, which is the current ball, what is the current player, what's the current score for the current player, is the A or B bonus light set, what bonus is displayed, if I'm updating the bonus, how much is it to be updated, is there a tilt, and several other things. But I didn't want this to just print out continuously every time through the loop, because that just floods the output screen with data. So I take all these variables and I write them to a thing called status string, and then I check to see if the current version of the status string is different from the previous version, and if it is, then I print out the status string. Then I just basically set the previous version to the current version, clear the current version, and I'm ready to go. So if there's ever a change, it prints it out during my debugging. So then it runs into the game state processor. And I might have shown this in a previous video, but I've completely rewritten this code, so I'm going to step you through it real quickly again. It obviously drops in starting off at case 0, which is just where it comes after a power up or a reset, and it just sets the current player to 0 and the game state to 1, so it drops right in. Notice I don't even have a break here. So it'll roll through this and right into game state 1, where it sets the current ball to 0, sets up a bunch of variables. I'm not going to run through them all. Just believe me, it sets up a bunch of variables. And then it unlocks the coin lock. So basically it turns on the coin unlock relay. This allows coins to be taken in by the coin slot. So if you don't have power, or if you haven't activated this, the machine will not accept coins. Somewhere in here I set the game state right there to 2, and then I leave here, so the next time through the loop it'll drop into game state 2. The first thing it's going to do is look for an update of the credit counter. So the update credit counter actually checks credits and the credit button to see if you've added any players. So it'll run that check, and then it'll drop into this, and it'll say if the number of players is greater than 0, that means that somebody has put some coins in and mashed the credit button at least once. If a thing has been added, it basically sets up the score wheels. It clears out the score wheels for that user. And normally at this point it would reset the score wheels to 0 by stepping through them and waiting for the 0 to come up on the score wheel. But since I don't have any score wheels here to do my testing, that would be an endless loop since the switch would never set. So I've just commented this out for my testing. Anyway, once I get through with that, I set the game state to 3, and I turn on allow solenoids. Allow solenoids is a flag that I use to disable the solenoids if you ever do a tilt. So before any solenoid will fire, it checks to see if solenoids are allowed, and if they are, then it'll fire solenoids. So turning allow solenoids on true basically enables the rest of the solenoids on the playfield. And game state has been set to 3, so it drops into game state 3. Now in game state 3, you have a credit, so basically you can play a game. If it's a single user, there'll only be 1 credit, but no matter how many users are there, you'll drop into here for the first player, and since the game hasn't actually started yet, you can still check for more coins. So during this state, until the first player actually starts playing a ball, you can add coins and add more users. It'll drop in here, it'll check to see if any more coins have been added and if any more users have been added, and then it'll come back and it'll say if there's a ball in the drain, which there ought to be, it will eject that ball. The first time through case 3, it'll eject that ball. Then it looks to see if ball started is set. Ball started is a variable or a boolean that sets whenever a score is made. So once the ball has been popped out to the drain, if the user pulls the plunger back and fires it up and goes over a rollover or something, then ball started will be set. And at that point, we turn off the coin relays because we don't want to accept any more coins, credits, or players once the game is playing. And we select the bank of score switches that are going to mechanically score the player. Now notice that this isn't done until after the player has already made a score, but we haven't rolled it up to the score wheel yet, so that doesn't make any difference. Scoring in the score wheel takes place in the background, and all we're doing is enabling which set of wheels that background process is gonna use. And then I print out a little debug statement here, and I set the game state to 5. Now game state 5 is the actual playing game state. It's just a little loop that goes through looking for the end of game. And other than that, the game plays and all the scoring and stuff happens in the background. Game state 4, which I skipped over there, is exactly the same as game state 3, with the exception of it doesn't have this update credit count in it, because this is where you're going to go between balls. As a ball finishes, it's going to come up to game state 4. It's going to check to see if there's a ball in drain, and if there is, it's going to eject it, and then it's going to look for the ball to be started. It's going to select the player and select the game state back to 5. So the first time through, it goes through case 3, but all the rest of the balls in the game go through case 4. So getting to the ball in play, game state 5 is ball in play, and if a ball's in the drain, then the game is over. So you can't get to this point until the ball has come out of the drain here and a score has been made, which means that the ball is up on the play field. So this ball in drain can only mean that the ball has gone through the play field and is now back down in the drain. So the first thing you do is check to see if during that play tilt happened. If tilt happened, then it turned off the solenoids and it stopped playing the game. Basically, it just let the ball roll down to the drain. So if a tilt had happened, we need to clear out that tilt status. So we set the tilt to false, we re-allow the solenoids, we reset the table. If same player shoot again happened to be on, I pity the poor fool, then it will be turned off and the game state will be set to 8, and I will show you what that does in a little bit, but for now we'll just say that if a tilt didn't happen, then we add an event to display the score bonus. I'm sorry, let me say it over again. If it is the end of the game, while we were playing the game, we were potentially scoring bonuses, and there's a delay factor when you're scoring bonuses to emulate how the real table plays. Since it used to be mechanical, the bonuses notched up as a tick 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 kind of operation. I wish you could see my hands because I'm showing you how that's working. But anyway, it notches up as the scores are added up, and then when it actually scores the scores, it notches back down as it's incrementing the score wheels and stuff. So to make this game feel like the mechanical game it used to be, I continue to do these delayed updates. So when the ball ends, there may still be credits that are rolling up, and I have to let them finish before I end the game. So this is just a little delay event that just says delay for a while to let you have all the bonus scores scored up before you go and end the game. And so while I'm waiting, I go to game state 10. Game state 10, I'm going to roll down here real quick, has no code in it. It just goes to game state 10 and goes back. So the action here is that when the bonus delay has been timed out, you go to the routine called delay bonus score. And if I go down here to delay bonus score simply sets the game state to 6. So once the timeout has finished, the game state goes to 6. And up here in game state 6, the next thing we do is we set up scoring the actual bonus. So in the previous time, we were adding counts to the bonus lights, which can go up to 15. And now we have to take those scores and score them to take them off of the lights and put them on the score wheel. So I add an event for each light that is on, I add a sequence to score the bonus, and this bonus score repeat is set to 800 milliseconds. So I multiply that by the loop, so it sets these events every 800 milliseconds for however many lights are on. It sets that many events. And then it sets the game state back to 10, where it waits for these bonuses to occur. And if I run down to the score bonus routine, which is also down here, the score bonus routine goes through and it checks excuse me, it checks to see if both the A and B bonus lights are on, and if they are on, it adds another event called the score double bonus, which just adds a second bonus to the scoring. If not, it checks to see if the bonus display has gone to 0. And if it is, that means that all the displays have been done except for the physical score wheel updating is still being done. So it adds a little bit, 800 milliseconds more delay, and then it goes to the bonus done routine. By the way, the score double bonus thing just adds another score, and that's all. The bonus done routine sets you back to game state 7. So once all the bonuses have been added up, then you jump to game state 7, which resets the table. And I'm not going to take you down and show you that. It just sets all the variables back to whatever they're supposed to be. It checks to see if the same player shoots again light is on, and if it is, it turns it off and sets the game state back to 4 without doing any other updates. So it doesn't change the ball, doesn't change the game, doesn't change the player, doesn't do anything. It just goes back up to game state 4 and lets the player play again. However, the table has been reset back to the default table setup, which is the way the game plays. If it isn't the same player shoots again, then we increment the current player and we jump to game state 8. In game state 8, we check to see if the current player is greater than the number of players, and if it isn't, we set the current player back to 0, we increment the balls in play, and then we set the game state to 9 to check to make sure we aren't out of balls. However, if the current player isn't greater than the number of players, then we just go to game state 4. And remember, I said game state 4 is where we wait for a ball to be shot up and a score to be made. So if we are at the end of the number of players, then we go down to case 9, where we check to see if the ball in play is greater than the number of balls in the game. And if it is, we go to game state 11, which ends the game. Otherwise, we just go back up to game state 4 because we've reset the player, we've reset the ball, and we're going to start back on player 0 with whatever the new current ball is. So in game state 11, remember game state 10 is that wait, do nothing state. Game state 11 I actually haven't written yet. In this chunk of code, I'm going to have to do the score matching and the high score processing. And then once I've done with that, I set the game state back to 1, which restarts the table. And that's the game loop. It's pretty simple. It works really good. I had some race logic and stuff that I had to troubleshoot, and which is what caused me to rewrite this game state more simply, basically one sort of event per state instead of having a bunch of events in one state and a bunch of if statements to check to see which one of those states was going on. So let me move this off now and move I can close that. This is my debug window. my software? Sorry, talking to myself. Okay, here's the software I've been doing. Let me re-upload this, which should reset that screen. And I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. I thought about trying to film this and put an overlay and do it simultaneously, but I decided that it's just not that interesting, too much work, and I can show you that separately. So that's what I plan on doing. So once this is reset, why did that not reset? Now let me hit reset on the unit. Okay, so once the reset is done, the upload is done, it should start printing out a couple of lines of my test message thing that I was telling you about. And there they are. So on the left here, it shows that we went through game state 0. We have 3 balls in play. The current ball is 0. There's no actual credits, and the credit wheel shows nothing. There's no score, and the score wheel shows nothing. The AB flags are not set. Add bonus is 0. The display bonus is set to 1. Just so in case you guys didn't know, the game starts with the first bonus light set. Ball and drain isn't true. Ball started isn't true. We're not tilted. There are no players currently. We're set to player 0, and then I have a little time tag that repeats every time I do this. So now I'm going to set the, I'm going to add a coin by tapping that switch I showed you earlier, and you can see there that the credit, actual and credit wheel have jumped up to 1, but there's still no players or anything. I'm going to touch this again. Now this unit is set up to, if you put in 2 coins, you get a free game. So when I touch that, you can see it jumped from 1 game to 3 games. The credit wheel jumped to 3, but there's still no players or anything. So now I'm going to go hit the credit button. I hit the credit button, and you can see that the credit wheel dropped down 1 because I've used up a credit, and the number of players has jumped up 1. So now I have 1 player. I'm going to touch it one more time, and now number of players is 2, and the credit wheel is 2. So now the ball has been ejected. It's out in the trough waiting for the first user to fire off the ball. And once he does that and it goes up, I'm going to be tapping on the left rollover button. And the reason I'm using that is because depending on the state of the score, that will add bonuses. So the first time I touch it, you can see, let me move this thing down. You can see that bonus is 0. That's because of the state of the score. Basically, it's looking at the tens digit to see if the tens digit is even or odd. But since the tens digit was odd, it did not add a bonus. But now the score wheel has gone. I'm sorry. Since the score wheel had been 0. Let me point to this with my cursor. The score wheel, or the score, either one, the score had been 0, so that was even, and on even, that thing that just gives you 100. Since the score wheel is 0, it doesn't gain you a bonus, but it does give you points, and giving you those points makes the score go odd. And this is actually 100 points. The lowest 0 digit is not real, so I don't put it in the code. So these represent the actual score wheel. So so it added 10 points, which now made that unit from even to odd. It selected player 1, and player 1 is shown as player 0 over here. So this is a 0 to 3 number, and the thing that's popping up here is a 1 to 4 number. So player 1 is selected. I'm going to hit the unit again, or hit the rollover again, and this time I scored 3 bonuses. And you can see by the delay that the first one popped on right away, the second one popped in a few milliseconds later, and the third one popped in a little bit after that. And the score wheel updated to 40. So that seemed to happen instantaneously, but actually in the background, a time event has been set to fire off tunk 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 the score wheel. So it'll add three scores to it. And notice that the bonus display has now counted up from that 1. It went up 2, 3, and 4. So the delays you're seeing here is not the delays in the score wheel going up, but delays in the bonus going up. So I'm going to tap on this about 3 times real quick, and you'll see these things gradually step up. And there we go. We finally turned all the lights on, and I can adjust that delay to make it look more or less real, and see how the game plays once we get it on the table and get it played. So now I'm going to simulate the game being over by hitting the game in the ball in drain switch. So the ball's now in the drain. And as you can see, there was a delay just in case something was going to score, and now it's rolling off the displays. So it stepped down from the 7 it was, down 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And once it got to 0, by the way, you can see the ball started had been 0 here, and the player had been 0. Now it's gone to the player as 1. Ball started in 0. The ball is still in the drain, and the bonus display is set back to 1, and we're ready to play the second player. So I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to go through all the stuff because this is really, it's boring for me. It's got to be horrifying for you guys. So anyway, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to show you a quick clip of what I just did on the actual circuit, so you can see the lights flipping, and you can see that the scores are being added and stuff like that. And then tomorrow we're going to go in. I don't know how much wiring we're going to work about 3 or 4 hours tomorrow. I'm not sure how much of the wiring we can get done, but I think this is close enough that if we get the unit wired up, we can start playing with the machine and test that the switches do the right thing and the scores add up correctly and the game switches. Now we won't have any lights. I don't have any LEDs programmed into this yet, so you lose a lot of the context of the game without the lights there, but we'll deal with that. The lights are going to be the last thing I program up probably, except for cleanup and bug work and stuff like that. So anyway, let me cut over to the camera again, and this will be the Canon on the tripod recording the actual lights and switches. I'm going to darken it up a little bit to keep the LEDs. They tend to over brighten the picture as they're flashing and stuff. So this is going to be a little bit darker probably than the rest of the video, but it'll allow you to see the lights without them drowning out their neighbors and stuff. So be back in a minute. I'm going to reset the unit because it's in the middle of playing a game. So reset, and when the light comes on, there you go, that is the coin lock enable light, which tells me I can start putting coins in. So I put a coin in, and you can see the credit up light is flashing. It flashes once when I put the first coin in. It flashes twice when I put the second coin in, because I have it set to give you a free play on 2 coins. And then I will go ahead and simulate hitting the credit button. And as I do this, it'll add players to the game, and you should see the credit down light light up for each time. So I just put 2 people on. There's a third one. There's a fourth one. And now I'm touching it, but it won't go down anymore. So there's 4 players in the game right now. So the game is sitting there waiting for the ball to be shot out and played. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend that a score has been made, and you can see the score lights are flashing, and the chime lights, the score lights are over here, the chime lights are over there. And so as I make scores, it's scoring. This particular score that I'm making is also counting up bonuses. You can't see it on here because there's no lights on here to indicate the bonuses, but I'm about to say that the ball has dropped into the drain, and once I do that, it'll start counting down those bonuses. And you can see the bonuses are now counting down, and as soon as they're all the way down, the drain light over here will come on, and that's basically saying it's trying to eject the ball out of the drain and get ready for the next player. Okay, so the ball is now out of the drain and it's ready for the next player. Player 1 is still selected over here, but as soon as I make a score, it'll move over to player 2 and add that score to player 2. And it'll hang like that until the end of the game. So that's the way it works.